Hello, my friends. Today we are talking about e-meals, and I have just got some hair that is making me crazy. We are talking about e-meals. So I did a video that's an overview of Trim Healthy Mama in general, but this is just going to go a little more in depth to what e-meals are and what that looks like kind of in in our day-to-day life. So my name is Christy with Help for Your Journey, where my goal is to encourage and inspire you in your Trim Healthy Mama lifestyle. So I am not a nurse, I am not a doctor, I am not a certified Trim Healthy Mama coach. I'm just a person who lost 130 pounds after having gastric bypass surgery, and I needed to find a plan where I could maintain my weight loss without being a crazy person. And Trim Healthy Mama is that plan for me. So, one of the ways that we categorize a meal in Trim Healthy Mama is E, and that stands for energizing. What we're doing in Trim Healthy Mama is we're separating our carbs and our fats. We're anchoring every meal in protein, but we're separating our carbs and our fats. So an e-meal is energizing because this is the meal where we're going to have carbs. So this is the meal that we need to keep fat low. 5 grams of fat or less in your meal. So it doesn't take a lot of butter to get to 5 grams of fat. So learning how to cook without a bunch of fat, if you're used to cooking that way, there might be a little bit of a learning curve to that. But you know what? Your food doesn't need to be drenched in butter or oil for you to cook it. Like, I see so many recipes where the first instruction, all you're doing is like cooking some onions and garlic, and they tell you to put 2 tablespoons of oil in the pan. Well, why? Like, you don't need that. You don't need oil to saute something. So I think we just need to work on getting it out of our mind that the only way that we can cook things is drenched in a bunch of butter or oil. So in our energizing meals, they're going to be anchored in protein, and then we're going to have carbs. This is not white sugar, this is not white flour, but there are a lot of things that you can have, and oh my gosh, you will be amazed. Let me find what I am looking at right here is the Trim Healthy Table book. And this, look how thick this is. This is a cookbook, and the recipes are wonderful, but it also gives you kind of an overview in the beginning of the book. If you haven't read any of the Trim Healthy Mama books, please get them. Please get them. Give a gift to yourself and get a cookbook that has the overview, because it will help you to be able to understand it. So when we're doing an e-meal, we're having healthy carbs anchored in protein, but only 5 grams of fat or less. So your carbs are going to include fruit, sweet potatoes, beans or legumes, and whole grains like quinoa and oatmeal, not white flour. So you're going to choose your protein, you're going to add your carb, you're going to do minimal fat, and then you can add things like non-starchy vegetables, berries, some lean dairy to round out your meal. So it's important to make sure that you do add in that fat. See, I ate a vegan diet for like a year, and there was no fat that was used except for what occurred naturally in food. I never cooked with any oil whatsoever. And so I really got out of the habit of doing that. And so for me, it's actually a struggle to add that 5 grams of fat into my e-meal, but fat is satisfying. So that is a key component in helping your e-meals keep you full for longer. So make sure that you are using that tablespoon of fat in your e-meal. So we're looking at lean sources of protein for an e-meal because we're sticking to 5 grams of fat or less. Let's see, so like egg whites, but not whole eggs, which, you guys, I'm telling you what, like, Making a scramble with egg whites and a whole bunch of veggies is and some Canadian bacon is literally so good. And that is a protein packed breakfast that you can have, because I know a lot of times when people think about meals as far as breakfast, they're thinking about things like oatmeal. And sometimes that's great. I love oatmeal. I have it several times a week, but sometimes you want like the eggs and the meat, and you want like a savory breakfast, not necessarily sweet. Totally doable on an totally doable. So you're looking at brown rice, quinoa, barley, farro, oatmeal. You can do whole grain bread if it's sprouted. There's lots of different carb choices for you in an Beans and legumes, you can do like 1 cup of cooked. So, it's a big serving. It's a big serving. Your veggies, where you then can have your sweet potatoes and your carrots and those root vegetables that are starchy, you can have those in an setting. We're going to limit nuts to just a garnish if you need them, or if you're going to use peanut butter, just like that teaspoon, because we've got to keep it to the 5 grams of fat. So you want to be careful with your condiments. I like to buy the Laughing Cow light cheese wedges. I find that those are a really good mayonnaise substitute if you're making like a wrap or a sandwich. That's a great substitute for mayonnaise. So what would an meal look like in a regular person's life? So I jotted down, if I was going to eat an day, here's what I could do. So I could make oatmeal, and actually when I make oatmeal, I put cauliflower rice in my oatmeal, which I know sounds not very good, but it's delicious, and I prefer to eat it that way now. I get a humongous bowl of oatmeal, and I'm getting a serving of vegetables, and so I will link that recipe in the description box if you're interested in that, because it's so good. And I might have a banana sliced on top, maybe with some almond milk, like some cinnamon and some sweetener in there. I might throw some protein powder in there. So good. And in my oatmeal, sometimes I buy like the egg whites in the carton, and I will just drizzle that in and whisk as I'm cooking the oatmeal. And that helps to up the protein as well in your oatmeal. So for lunch, maybe I would have a sandwich with some lean lunch meat, lettuce, tomato, mustard. Maybe I would have an apple with that. Maybe I would cut up some raw veggies. Then maybe for dinner, I would have a big bowl of chili that had beans and corn in it. And, I hear in the Facebook groups, people have trouble with E's, and I'm not sure why. I like S meals just as much as the next person. Maybe it's just because I know that the meals help with my weight maintenance, so it's not like hard for me to eat an meal. And so when I'm doing my meal plan, if I'm making a pot of chili for dinner one night for an dinner, then the next day, if I have an lunch, I will just schedule myself to eat more of that chili for lunch. So it's not like I'm having to cook, every meal every day or anything. The menu planning and the meal template are really helpful. I feel like that's just key. So take a look at that. So that would be something that I would do. There are tons of desserts that you can make. I really enjoy fuel pull desserts just as much as I do desserts, and that's another video that I will do explaining fuel pulls. So I don't necessarily seek out desserts, but there are so many in the cookbooks that you can make. Pinterest, like you can find in the Facebook groups, you can find a million ideas. So I hope that this explanation of meals helps you. And if you have other questions, I would suggest that you watch the video that gives an overview of the whole program. And hopefully I answered any questions that you had about e-meals. So if you found value in this video, I would appreciate it if you would give it a like. If you would consider subscribing to my channel, that would really help me out a lot. It lets YouTube know that there are people out there interested in this type of content, and it will share it with other people. So I appreciate you watching today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.